Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. You've been watching the show here recently. You might have caught a glimpse of me talking about my plans to go to Utah chasing some elk. Well, I'm in a hotel right now in the middle of nowhere, top secret location, and we're about to go up into the mountains chasing some elk. Now, I did some polls and said, what do you guys want me to take with me? One of the top ones that I was leaning to, and a bunch of you guys wanted me to bring with me after elk, was this guy right here. This is my Remington 700 Sendero in 264 Win Mag. If you never heard of 264 Win Mag, it's been out since like the 60s, I believe. And the long and the short of it is, it's a 264 projectile, which is the same as a 6.5. So think 6.5 Creedmoor, but long action, and add roughly 300 feet per second. So let me see if I can show you one here. This is a 264 Win Mag, a lot longer than a 6.5 Creedmoor. So 6.5 Creedmoor, a lot of people say, yeah, that's good enough for elk. I personally know a handful of people that elk hunt with 6.5 Creedmoor. So 264 Win Mag ought to be good enough for the job. Now, I was building confidence before I came out on this trip, so just let me show you the targets with my 264 Win Mag the day before I left to come up here. By the time you see this video, I ought to already be back home. But so here was my first book of groupings here. Now, one of the only reasons I even considered this 264 Win Mag was because I was very impressed with it, getting good groups with it. First couple groups at the range, that's almost, that's an 1.5 inch group. And then I just sent a bunch in a row right here, and it still kept about 1.5 inches. 1.5 inch group is not confidence inspiring when your guide tells you be prepared to take 400, 500 yard flings. So kind of not real happy with it. I did this one over here, kind of same thing, right? 1.5 inch group. At this point, I'm thinking, man, I probably shouldn't take that one at all, but I went ahead and sent a bunch at 200 with the 100 yard sight in, and let me show you how this did. So what I wanted to do at the 200 was to confirm my drop. So leaving it sighted in at 100, where did it hit at 200? Well, I sent 5 in a row and got this little group here. We might call that one a flyer, but probably a 2 inch wide at 200. Now we're starting to get a little bit better, but dropping about 3 inches at 200 yards, which is in my brain about what I would expect. Now after that, I did this last group right here. Before I left, I said, there's no way. And what I did for this group was I slowed down. I reminded myself my training and how to break my trigger and what forces to and not to put on the whole thing front to back. And I got this. So I got my confidence back once I was anxious, in a hurry, had a lot to do. When I actually slowed down and focused, I got it under 1 inch, with seeing it was dropping about 3 inches, give or take a bit, at 200. So what I got to do now, quick, before we go out to the mountains, is run a chart for the elevation out here, which is roughly 8,000 feet above sea level. So let me run that quick, so I'll have the drop chart and then show you guys, and we'll see how it lines up with that 3 inch drop-ish at 200 yards. Check this out. All right, so I've got all my information typed in here. 8,000 altitude. The G1BC is 0.384 on this stuff. 140 grain projectile. I actually chronographed this faster than what the Remington box says. This is, I chronographed it at 3,072 feet per second. The box actually says 3030. Oh man, I put the zero range in wrong. Let me recalculate this. Boom. All right, so now with 100 yard zero, where are we at? Yeah, here we go. 100 yard zero. Let's go down here. So that first column is yards, second column is drop in inches, and then MOA and mil dials. So if you look at it, I got it zeroed at 100 at 200 yards there. It says it's dropping 2.5 inches. So that's roughly what I was seeing. Of course, this is going to be slightly less drop because of the less dense air at 8,000 feet of elevation. And I'm using a mil dial scope. So this is the column I'm going to write down. 200 yards is 0.34, 250 is 0.61, 300, 0.91, so on and so forth. 400 yards, 1.58, 500 yards, 2.34, and 500 yards is probably getting close to the longest squeeze I'd want to do. Looking at the second to last column is the energy table, so keeping a close eye on that. Out to 600 yards is 1,221 foot-pounds of energy. So that might be pushing the extent of where I want to use the 264 Win Mag there. But even out to 700, the dial is still 4.17 mils. At 1,000, it's 7.84, which is not too shabby in the grand scheme of things as far as drop goes. 264 Win Mag's pretty groovy. All right, so now I've got my drop chart. I've got all my dials. And yeah, my confidence is way up with that last group that I did there. Under an inch group, that's probably going to come in about a 0.7, 0.8 inch group at 100 yards. Without that last group, my confidence was kind of down. Also, the rest I was using, this has a flat base. The rest I was using was a V, so I really wasn't getting the best possible rest, but I got the drop chart now. One other factor, when I was loading this up at the house, I had it leaned up against the wall and it fell down and landed directly on the scope. So if we get the chance to verify zero, then this one is at the top of my list. But man, my camera's falling down. Hold up. There we go. But this one's at the top of my list. We'll see what happens. This 264 Win Mag Remington 700 Sendero, I love it. This is the stuff that I have it sighted in with. The 140 grain Remington core locked. Yeah, it ought to do good. I've got my dials now. You guys that watch the show know I love Arkin. Arkin Optics. This is a EPL4 6-24. Good glass. I need to get that screw turned in a little bit further. But yeah, Arkin's good glass. This is one of the ones we get big discounts on. Code WHOTEEWHO for big discounts for me and you on Arkin Optics. So yeah, definitely a good scope for reaching out and touching something. I already got it re-zeroed. Always make sure to do that, so when you get out in the field and it accidentally gets bumped or something, you know you can turn it back to zero. Ask me how I know, because I've done that in the past. Got out there, whoops, I forgot to turn it to zero. I hope nobody bumped it. But hey, appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, by the time this video comes out, I'll already be back at the house. But hopefully we get on some elk and we'll see what happens. Should be a good time. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't already, go over to WHOTEEWHO.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the free newsletter. I got some stuff coming out on there real soon you don't want to miss. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. WHOTEEWHO.
Load it up and get it on as soon as you can. 30-06, 10 mil, 50 cap. It don't make a difference, man. We like to